Hello, good morning. This reading is a selection from In Tune with the Infinite by Ralph Waldo Trine, which was written in 1910, and I found this at sacred-text.com, which actually has a wealth of sacred texts, go figure. So this section is called The Secret, Power, and Effects of Love. This is the spirit of infinite love. The moment we recognize ourselves as one with it, we become so filled with love that we see only the good in all. And when we realize that we are one with this infinite spirit, then we realize that in a sense we are all one with each other. When we come into a recognition of this fact, we can do no harm to anyone, to anything. We find that we are all members of one great body, and that no portion of this body can be harmed without all the other portions suffering thereby. When we fully realize the great fact of the oneness of all life, that all are partakers from this one infinite source, and so that the same life is the life in each individual, then prejudices go and hatreds cease. Love grows and reigns supreme. Then, wherever we go, whenever we come in contact with the fellow man, we are able to recognize the God within. We thus look only for the good, and we find it. It always pays. There is a deep scientific fact underlying the great truth: he that takes the sword shall perish by the sword. The moment we come into a realization of the subtle powers of the thought forces, we can quickly see that the moment we entertain any thoughts of hatred towards another, he gets the effect of those diabolical forces that go out from us, and the same thoughts of hatred aroused in him, and has the same thoughts of hatred aroused in him, which in turn return to the sender. Then we understand the effects of passion, hatred, or anger, even upon the physical body. We can see how detrimental, how expansive this is. The same is true in regards to all kindred thoughts of passion, envy, criticism, jealousy, or scorn. In the ultimate, we shall find that in entertaining feelings of this nature towards another, we always suffer far more than the one towards whom we entertain them. And when we fully realize the fact that selfishness is at the root of all error, sin, and crime, and that ignorance is the basis of all selfishness, with that charity, we come to look upon the acts of all. It is the ignorant man who seeks his own ends at the expense of the greater whole. It is the ignorant man, therefore, who is the selfish man. The truly wise man is never selfish. He is a seer and recognizes the fact that he, a single member of the one great body, is benefited in just the degree that the entire body is benefited. And he seeks nothing for himself that he would not equally seek for all mankind. If selfishness is at the bottom of error, sin, and crime, and ignorance is the basis of all selfishness, then when we see a manifestation of either of these qualities, if we are true to the highest within us, we will look for and we will seek to call forth the good in each individual with whom we come in contact. When God speaks to God, then God responds and shows forth as God. But when devil speaks to devil, then devil responds, and devil is always to pay. I sometimes hear a person say, "I don't see any good in him." No? Then you are no seer. Look deeper and you will find the very God in every human soul. But remember, it takes a God to recognize a God. Christ always spoke to the highest, the truest, and the best in men. He knew and he recognized the God in each because he had first realized it in himself. He ate with publicans and sinners. Abominable, the scribes and Pharisees said. They were so wrapped up in their own conceits, their own self-centeredness, hence their own arrogant ignorance, that they had never found the God in themselves. And so they never dreamed that it was the real life of even publicans and sinners. In the degree that we hold a person in the thought of evil or of error, do we suggest evil and error in him? In the degree that he is sensitively organized or not well individualized, and so subject to the suggestions of the thought forces from others, will he be influenced. And so in this way we may be sharers in the very evil doing in which we hold another in thought. In the same way, when we hold a person in the thought of the right, the good and the true, the righteousness, goodness, and truth are suggested to him, and thus we have a most beneficent influence on his life and conduct. If our hearts go out in love to all with whom we come in contact, we inspire love, and the same ennobling and warming influences of love always return to us from those whom we inspired them. There is a deep scientific principle underlying the precept: if you would have all the world love you, you must first love all the world. It is the degree that we love that we will be loved. Thoughts are forces, each creates of its kind. Each comes back laden with the effect that corresponds to itself and of which it is the cause. Then let your secret thoughts be fair. They have a vital part and share in shaping words and molding fate. God's system is so intricate. I know of no better practice than of a friend who continually holds himself in an attitude of mind that he continually sends out his love in the form of thought, dear everybody, I love you. And when we realize the fact that a thought invariably produces its effect before it returns or before it ceases, we can see how he is continually breathing out a blessing, not only upon all whom he comes in contact, but upon all the world. These are the same thoughts of love, moreover tokenized in various ways, are continually coming to him from all quarters. Even animals feel the effects of these forces. Some animals are more sensitively organized than many people are, and consequently, they get the effects of our thoughts, our mental states, and emotions much more readily than many people do. Therefore, whenever we meet an animal, we can do it good by sending out these thoughts of love, and it will feel the effects whether we simply entertain or whether we voice them. And it is often interesting to note how quickly it responds and how readily it gives evidence of the appreciation of this love and consideration on our part. What a privilege and how enjoyable it would be to live and walk in the world where we meet only gods. In such a world you can live. In such a world I can live. For in the degree that we come into this higher realization, do we see only the God in each human soul. And when we are thus able to see him in everyone we meet, we then live in such a world.